Hello and good morning to the Executives Association of Greater Phoenix podcast. Today we're brought to you by Hair Club for Men, and as we introduce some of our guests, you'll know exactly why. I want to make sure we do say hello. You know how I always talk about saying hello to the 2 or 3 people in the Florence prison system that watch this show. So today we have 2 business owners. Format is we like to talk about their business a little bit, so everybody gets to know them, and then go through some issues they have or some prospects for the new year, because that's coming up. So hold on a second, and we'll begin with Larry. Larry, tell us a little bit about your company and what you do there.
Well, first of all, we got to get it right. I'm not the owner of Alsco Uniforms.
They got owner?
They're out of Salt Lake City. They're family owned, and they've 4th generation. They've been around.
We could send this to them and say, "Hey, now you're the owner."
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why I'm clarifying, so they don't see it. The Steiner family, 4th generation, completely family owned. They are been around for a long time in the linen and uniform business. They founded the actual the rental uniform business. They're the founders of that. They've had awards for that. So been around forever. We've got a worldwide company. I work out of the Phoenix office, 16 years, over 16 years now. I'm the longest tenured sales consultant that they've had in Arizona. And we've got about 10 of us in the sales department. And that's exactly what I am, a sales consultant in the linen and uniform business.
Great. So what did you do before that?
Linen and uniform business, 12 years for another company. So I've half of my life I've been in this business. So
wow.
Then I've also been in the restaurant business prior to that in Reno, Nevada. My 2 uncles and myself had a sports bar chain. So I ran back in the 90s, sports bars for them, for our family for about 10 years.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to that later. And Tony, I know you own your place.
Yeah, I do.
Which is a good or bad thing, depending on what day it is.
Depending on what day it is.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your fantastic industry?
So I own PJ's Flowers and Gifts. We just turned 40 years old this year. I've been in charge for 30 years and thought, I'm going to figure out how to make this flower shop run. Then I was going to go get a real job, and that was 30 years ago. And I'm still here just making the arrangements.
Now, did you buy it from somebody, or did?
Yes.
Yeah. So who was it before? Was it the same?
Yeah, I bought it from PJ Caruso, local rock star.
How long was it in business before you owned it? 10 years?
Yeah, she had it for 10 years.
Okay. Now, obviously, you've improved on it, or have you taken it back 20 years?
Oh, I've just grinded it into the ground.
Yeah.
Just hope just.
You like tax losses.
Exactly.
That's
why I'm here.
Exactly. So, Larry, here's a good question for you. Why the hell do we need uniforms?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why we need uniforms. And when you say uniforms, I look at anywhere from chef coats to even industrial uniforms for mechanics, or for even scrubs for the medical field. So we cover all of that. So we're not just a one-stop shop. We are, we do a lot of uniforms in a different applications. So they're important to have also with their names and emblems on the uniforms. I mean, to identify the people, so they know that if they're an air conditioning company, they want to have that on there so they know when they're knocking on someone's door that they're identified and they're not just plain clothes.
Does what's your typical client base look like?
So again, the 3 different markets would be, chef wear. So for your chef, all your chef cook shirts, for your bus staff, to your executive chefs, and then also to the automotive dealerships. We cover all the mechanics to the front of the house managers, and then again medical. So medical would be lots of scrubs. I just sold a surgery center this beginning of this year. And they spend, a couple $1,000s a week in scrubs and towels and all the other stuff too.
Now, I think this is the great part of it is that you guys come pick up and clean them, don't you?
Exactly. That's our
So
bread.
how tell so yeah, I buy uniforms. Tell me how it works.
So that's our bread and butter is that we're a service. So we're a service. We don't do much in direct sales. It's all, basically once a week. Some of big accounts are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Some are every day. If they're that big, a big dealership would probably be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or more. We don't do stuff on the weekends. We're Monday through Friday. But typically your regular account, like a 10-man automotive shop, would be once a week. And then we would issue each person their own uniforms. We buy them brand new. And we take on the cost. So then we just charge the rental for it and the cleaning, but it's all one cost for them. And that's my job to price it all out, to give them the samples and show them different options, short sleeve, long sleeve, cargo pants, non-cargo pants. I fit them to their needs. And then each person, if they work 5 days a week, they're going to get 11 pants and 11 shirts, meaning we're going to drop off 5 to them, 5 clean, pick up 5 dirty, and the 11th pair they're wearing. So their inventory is 11. If they turn in two shirts and 2 pants, that's all they're going to get back next week. Some people take them home and wash them, but that just saves us on soap and everything else. We make more money doing that.
So do you put them? Do they keep them like a bag in a locker area?
Yeah, we supply lockers also to our clients, 8 bank lockers or more, depending on what they need, and also the bag stands and the bags itself to put all the stuff in, so all the dirty in, and then we drop off clean, pick up dirty.
Now, so you buy those uniforms. Now, what happens if the customer? I mean, I'm sure you got a contract because you got that upfront cost to spend. What happens if they eventually cancel? Can you recycle the uniforms? Or
yeah, so we have a stock room. And our stock room it's interesting. It's in Las Vegas for our region, and so they keep all of the stock there. So everything goes back to them, and they can reuse it, depending on the grade of the garment. They can reuse it. If it's still in great shape, they'll send it back out to, if it's the right type of uniform for a certain customer, we're gonna just keep sending it back and forth to Las Vegas, and then we upgrade the uniforms as they need for each customer.
So do you do all the embroidery and all that
And
stuff?
then we do the names and emblems. We have them customized, put them on the things. Some require embroidery, and we use a customer in Egypt, a member in Egypt. We use Kazink for all of our embroidery, direct embroidery.
Okay. Does now do you sell any clothes or anything?
We do some direct sale. I had it at our Egypt meeting this morning. I had one of the members in there asked me if he could place another order. He orders once a year for some the plumbing company, Quail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Qualtair, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, it's easier to
Yeah,
think about.
exactly.
That. He's old and he's getting a little long there. So, okay, now what happens if a guy like that comes and goes, "Hey, I got 5 people. Can I just buy the uniforms and let them take care of it?"
So that's where I come in as a sales consultant, because then I can explain the cost and I break down the cost of what it would cost. Sometimes it's I could turn them into the rental program. Most of the times I can, because it makes more sense. But there are customers out there that just want to purchase them, and we'd be happy to do that. We'll sell them as well.
Because we like weird and demented things. What have you found that's strange when you picked up somebody's clothes? Have you ever had a story about that?
Yeah, a lot of times there's money that come back. There's wedding rings. I've heard we've had that happen before. Somebody called one time and said he had his wedding ring in his pocket. And it's not easy to go through a massive warehouse of dirty laundry and have to get that out of there. But we did find the wedding ring once. We find a lot of stuff in the soil.
And I would imagine if you're starting to find expensive stuff like that, when it pulls up to the door, all the employees are running out there trying to see if they can go through everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you've got to maintain a laundry place. I mean, how do you get out all that? You do a lot of greasy stuff. How do you get them clean?
Yeah, I mean, we're worldwide company we have a chemical company that's in there every single day. They're there as much as our employees are. So the chemical companies are big for us, and we're mandated by the city of Phoenix. They're coming in there and checking our stuff too. So we have it's all it's all automated, the whole entire plant. So, and we offer plant tours too, if people to come in and they're blown away pretty much how the operation works. But it is amazing.
And how many competitors are in town for that business?
So we've got a lot of competitors. Cintas, I'll throw right out there because that's who we compete with every day. Vestas is another one, Mission Linen. And so I'd say there's probably, that I deal with probably 10 competitors, but probably 4 or 5 of them that we really compete hard with.
Yeah, because it looks like there's a lot expensive, cost of entry to do that business. You just can't have 5 clients. And
no, yeah, we've got thousands of clients, in the area. So,
I mean, it's interesting because you think about how many people that have those uniforms. So there's obviously a big market for it.
Yeah, it is a big market, and it is we go after the competition pretty hard. I mean, we really do. We compete very well with them. We have good pricing, and we pride ourselves on our service. That's a big thing. I mean, we've got route drivers that have been 10, 15 years average with our company. They're the old school milkman guys. I mean, they're really, really good. They're not just they're RSRs. And that's what we call them. We don't call them delivery drivers.
Right.
They're route service representatives.
Well, of course, because delivery drivers doesn't. It's like the what do they call the housewife? They change it to industrial or something engineer or something, home engineer or something, because we can't say that's a bad word to say. So
we do not call them that. And they handle the account. I mean, they are in charge of the route person is in charge of the account. Where they come in, they have to stock the shelves. And now I'm going to like a linen scenario, restaurant. So they're there and they're stocking the shelves, and they got to make sure that they get checked in by the executive chef or the manager on hand, and they're responsible for that account and for the inventories being right. And they every week or every time they're in there, they're counting and they're putting it up nicely and neatly, and checking in with the management. So it's an important job.
I'd imagine hotels are big business.
Hotels are big business. Yeah, hotels are big business. We do a lot of. Our company was kind of founded on the food and beverage industry. So but now we're they're always trying to get the industrial stuff more profitable, and the more the uniforms are all the time. Where the food and beverage departments go down our summertime, our volume just drops. Like an automotive dealership, it's the same guys all year long. So it's more profitable to have the uniforms, but we're still really heavily into the food and beverage, the napkins, tablecloths, chef coats, aprons, mats, and mops.
I just thought of a really smart idea. You'll probably like this too. Is how people like to talk politics at work or stuff and get in all these fights? Maybe we should just do a blue uniform and a red uniform. That way exactly what's going on.
Where they stand.
You
Sure.
get to pick, but you can't comment about it. So that's how we get our politics out in the workplace. Doesn't that sound like a smart idea?
But I think you also need a purple uniform for those people who don't know which one they are.
Or maybe red top, blue bottom. See, I'm in between. I don't know where I'm at. So.
Note that he wants the bottom where the bud is to be the blue one.
Exactly.
Let me know. I'll come measure you guys up anytime.
I'm telling you, I would put
we
that
have those
out
colors.
I would put that out as a thing for the New Year's. That would be great.
Yeah.
Hey, calm down your talk of politics at work with our new uniform combos. I could do the whole voiceover and stuff for that. Okay, so let's get to you before I'm going to be extremely worried about asking you too many questions. So, Tony, tell us about, everybody knows they order flowers usually, and they use it it's an emergency thing. Like, I did something to the wife. It's always the apology thing's got to be great for business.
You're a great customer. Thank you.
And the dead guy, so we want to make sure we don't want to go to the thing, but we're going to send some flowers anyway because it looks great, but I wasn't there.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about your business and how has it changed over the years?
It's changed so much. There are so many more flowers available today. We get flowers from all over the world, from Holland, South America, Israel, not to be political, Israel.
Okay.
You're welcome. Yeah. Tropicals from Hawaii. Africa actually grows a lot of great flowers. They just don't have a good distribution system to get them out of the continent.
So how the hell do you get like a flower that's, semi-delicate from here to from Australia to here?
I'll use South America. All flowers are packed, boxed, and once they're boxed, they cool the boxes down. They palletize them. They cool the boxes down to 36 degrees, held in a cold storage area, put on refrigerated trucks. There's a courier service that flies them to Miami. They land. There's an ag building at the Miami International Airport. It's where all the food, all the flowers, everything comes in. They're all sets also refrigerated. It's checked for drugs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do all the paperwork, still cold storage, and then it gets distributed to flower shops, to wholesalers and flower shops across the country. When the flower is chilled down to 36 degrees, it's basically asleep. So when we get it in, it's been packed for a couple of days. We put it in water to warm it up, let it know that it's time to wake up, and it's time to just go ahead and mature and open beautifully. It's kind of like, have you ever woken up and you look at your watch after you did some day drinking, and you look at your watch and go, oh, it's 5. You know if it's you don't know if it's 5 a.m. or 5 p.m., and you're really excited if it's one, not the other. You've had those moments, right?
Yes.
Same with the flower. They don't know if it's been, the flower's sleeping. They don't know if they've been sleeping for 3 or 5 or 7 days.
So do the activists know about this flower euthanasia?
They don't, and we're not going to tell them on this show.
No, okay.
We're going to keep it to ourselves.
So and then people go, I wonder, like when you watch Deadliest Catch, people will go, I'll never complain about the cost of crab because of all the work that goes in, and dudes die and the boat drowns and all this stuff. It's probably the same thing when people go, why am I spending $150 for, a dozen flowers, a vase, and some baby's breath? Now that I know that baby's breath is really weird, and why would I know that? It just popped into my head.
Well, you're just
that's
really
part
weird.
of the problem.
You're just really weird.
So what? Yeah. So tell us what goes into. How do you price that stuff, or how does that work?
There's a general pricing that most florists use. The thing people don't realize is all of the work that goes into packing and all of that. It's very, very time consuming. People spend hours and hours just putting. Roses come at 25 in a package in the United States. There are 2 dozen in a spare if one breaks. A guy will sit there and lay 4 of them, put a piece of cardboard. It takes 5 to 10 minutes to put one package of 25 roses to be able to, before it's ready to be shipped.
So, and then when it comes in, is it like, oh my God, I got to get these out of the box as soon as they come in when you get them delivered? Like, I'm sure they're delivered at same time or similar time once or twice a week. How often do you get deliveries?
We get shipments from Miami and Southern California up to 4 days a week.
Okay. And then do you have your own refrigeration system? Do you have to keep them asleep with the euthanasia thing?
Yes, we can. Yeah. So I have some flowers that are coming in, need it for an event next week. They'll be here tomorrow, Friday, and we'll put them in water, let them drink, start to wake up, get them out Monday, and help them start to open so they'll be ready for the upcoming holidays.
Now, I know you do individual business, but I'm sure, business size or event size or, where you can really make some money. What's the, what's your what's in your wheelhouse for stuff to do? I mean, we know you're doing individual stuff, but.
We work a lot with hotels, event planners, anybody in the event industry. We have a client who will call and say, I need 20 centerpieces next week. That's not uncommon. Had a client call and say, hey, I'm having a function in 2 weeks. This is my budget for my 14 pieces. What flowers would you use in my color palette? I'm like, there's the flowers that are available. Let me know if you want to move forward. Didn't hear from them. Then on Wednesday, they shoot me an email. Hey, I forgot. Can you still do this? I said, yes. Send them the invoice. Thursday morning, I'm like, can't do this if we haven't been paid. I got paid at noon on Thursday. It was 10 cocktail pieces and 4 buffet pieces for $1,000 for delivery at 9 o'clock the next morning.
So you didn't build them yet?
No.
So now I got to jam them all together while I don't sleep?
Yes.
Or I'm
them
half
all
in the
together.
bag like you generally
Professional
are?
terms.
Yeah.
Jam it all together.
Yeah. So, wow, that just seems like a freaking lot of work.
It is.
So who does this stuff?
I used to have a staff of about 14 people, and it was just a ton of headaches. Now it's just a couple of us. My design manager, Bree Schindler, is fantastic. She's been with us 10 years, and we have a delivery person. And it's the three of us. I have other people I can bring in if we have larger functions.
So is it, but I mean, how realistically, what could one or two person bang out? I mean, that looks like a lot. It's almost like an assembly line.
They don't sleep.
Yeah. Assembly line. It just depends on the type of flowers. We had a wedding. We had a wedding that was in Flagstaff. Mm-hmm. All the flowers were in boxes. We basically set up a flower room in a hotel, conference room, hydrated all the flowers, worked all through the night, worked the next morning, went and set everything up. In 48 hours, we slept 3, and it was just the two of us. There was another company that was there to help us with trucking and shipping it the 10 miles to the location, but it was about a $35,000 wedding.
Now, have you ever had, so I do my $35,000 wedding, and then in comes, the new missus in the white dress, and she sees something and goes, oh my God, that's got a carnation in it, I didn't order that. So do you ever have issues like that?
No. We try to sell people on, you want to buy color? If you don't like carnations, that's fine. Mike, I know.
Don't knock the carnation. My wife thinks that's a weed.
Yeah, you always like a carnation and the roses. And there are some fantastic colors. I want to get this out there. There's some amazing colors of carnations. Used to have a stigma with the people of our generation, but there's some eggplant purple. There's new varieties that are almost expensive as roses, but they're just absolutely beautiful.
Now, how come some flower, like you get, when you get a bouquet or flowers, some of them don't smell? Like they look like they're going to smell good, but they don't. Is that something that's because of the way they're frozen or semi-frozen?
No, that doesn't affect it as much. People know roses, so it's easiest to talk about roses. Mm-hmm. Some flowers, like orchids, most don't have a lot of fragrance. About 15 years ago, the rose growers. There's breeders and there's growers. So the breeders are doing the cultivars and things. So the growers realized that if they turned off the scent gene, the rose would grow faster. We're buying roses based on how tall they are, 40, 50, 60, 80 centimeters. It has to be on the plant longer, and also shipping costs of something that's 40 centimeters is a lot less than something that's 80 centimeters. So they realized if they turned off the scent gene, that the rose might not smell, but it would grow faster, and they could.
But doesn't that defeat the purpose of the flower?
The public was very unhappy with it, and now the newer varieties they're coming out with do have fragrance. They've turned that gene back on. Back
to the abused carnation.
Yes.
One of these stupid things I always do is I order my wife flowers, but I always have them put one carnation in there. Mm-hmm. That's just my gig. Yeah. Because I would rather, if I was going to get flowers, I would get carnations. That's just my thing. But again, I'm sure you have people that they want a certain flower every time. Is that do you have regular people that like, hey, listen, deliver flowers for me every 2 weeks?
Yep.
And is that like more offices or
a few
funeral homes?
No, not with the funeral homes.
They must not have liked the non-smelling flowers because that covers up all that other smell.
You would think.
That's true.
Yeah.
But we do have some customers that order on a regular basis, and usually we'll do just designer's choice, whatever the best flowers that are available that week, something we got on special so we can give you a greater value, give you more flowers.
And how many times, I'm sure this happens all the time. How many times do you get the call like, oh, I forgot to order XYZ a week ago and I need it by tomorrow at noon?
Well, Mike usually calls and says, I forgot, I need it by noon today, and it's 9:15 a.m.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, no, you're the one that never keeps my credit card. I keep giving it to you, and you keep going, hey, 2 weeks later, you go, hey, you need to pay for these. And I go, I gave you the credit card already. What kind of solutions do you have with the technology in there?
Well, we're not supposed to the system auto deletes a credit card after 6 months, so you don't buy flowers
That's because
often enough.
And guess what? Buy away, because I'll call Amex and go, I don't know. I think this guy's getting drugs from Miami in on flowers.
Well, I usually get my drugs. I usually get my drugs from Mike. How about you, Larry?
Exactly. Right. Yeah, every Thursday morning.
Yeah, I know. It's the handoff. It's the two hands, money and the drugs. So what's the hardest thing about the flower business right now? Is it the cost? Costs probably went up just because gas, fuel. The fuel to keep the cool, the the trucking, the shipping.
Fuel and freight surcharges have gone up exponentially. I was talking about all the companies that bring product in from South America. There were 3 during COVID. One of them went out of business. And guess what? If there are only 2, they can just charge more because there's not a third guy trying to compete for the dollars. And, in 2025, we dealt with inflation, and we also dealt with tariffs. Tariffs have had a large impact. Some flours have doubled in cost.
So do you have to point that out to people? Go, hey, listen, if you get this, it's twice as much as Y.
Well, I can't double my price overnight.
Yeah, you can't. You got to eat some of it.
Yeah, and as beautiful as they are, they don't taste that good when you eat them.
Do you have to do a lot of pay in advance because you've already got a significant cost sunk into that?
No, we work a lot with growers so we can get the best quality, and I usually have 30. I'm net 30 with most of my growers.
Okay. So, unless it's somebody that you know or don't like.
Right, like you.
Yeah, and then you're giving it to me in advance. Oh, yeah, that's why you're always begging for the card.
Yeah.
COD.
Yeah. Okay, so because I've done this podcast like 6 or 7 times, and I never talk about me, and we know
there you
how
go.
great the service I provide.
So,
I
Mike,
don't do flowers, but what I wanted to ask you guys, don't interrupt. Tell us something about hiring employees, or have you hired? You've obviously hired.
Well, myself, no.
Okay.
No, not much.
What do people at your company, or let's just say Company A is a uniform company? What is some of the stuff that they might do wrong when they hire people?
Well, I mean, they do the background checks. What do they do wrong?
No. How do they do things to complicate the hiring process?
To complicate it, I'm not quite sure. I don't hire anybody.
He's pretty lucky.
Yeah.
I don't have to go through all that, but I really don't. I don't do any.
But you haven't got hired some guy and they go, oh, hey, can you mentor this dude? And you're like, oh my God. I mean, this guy couldn't, change the water in the toilet.
Yeah, we do have a mentorship in our company. Like the senior guy, so I'm always taking these guys out and mentoring them. But lately, though, we have a staff of 10 that we've kept now for quite some time. Actually, our turnover's been pretty good. But you do get some that last a couple months, and I could see the writing on the wall. When I take them out in the field or whatever, they don't have a clue. You could tell when they're not going to make it.
Well, I can tell you from working with my college class, the communication for people sub 34 has been weakened by COVID and not having enough speaking, staring at my phone 24/7. I can't communicate with anybody. So it's hard to, especially when you're in these networking groups, you see people that stand in the corner sometimes looking at their phone. And I don't know what you think, but I think that's a problem. People got to you don't sell stuff by texting your phone.
You got to get face to face with these people. I know these younger kids, they don't have that as much.
They think they walk in, let's buy from him. No, well, we don't even know who you are.
Yeah, they're looking for a quick sale, and it's not that easy. Certainly in our business, it's not that easy.
Now, you obviously have employees.
Yeah.
So what's some things that you've went through? Like you said, you had 10 or so. So I imagine, did you come to the realization that if I hire people, I'm going to spend the whole time doing it anyway, so I don't want to pay them? So what went through your head?
We did have, and in that 14, there were some that were part-timers, but I found that having fewer staff and paying them a little bit more was much more advantageous. It's easier. I found it easier to corral and rein things in when you're only dealing with a couple of horses in the corral instead of, a dozen.
That's an interesting, because a lot of smaller companies that I work with are that way.
Mm-hmm.
When you work with bigger companies, technically there's more, there's a slot that they have where the money's at. And even if you bring up, hey, you're going to go through more people this way because you're under the market, or they're just going to take the job. Like right now, people would take that were a controller, because I'm looking for a controller for Ardan, assistant controller. You're getting all controller level people. Right. The money's great for assistant. It's not for the controller, but people are like, I just need a job, which is the worst
Just hire
thing you
me,
can
yeah.
tell me in an
Right.
interview.
Right.
As soon as you tell me that, I'm disqualifying you, because you know they're going to get in there and they're going to have one eye on the job boards or whatever they've been doing. And you'll end up being out in maybe 6 months. Although, here's one of the changes that most people probably don't realize is that AI is really causing a dent in that thought process, because some of these people are getting laid off because AI is taking their place, which means they're not going to be rehiring for those positions.
Right.
So if you're in one of those positions that you think AI is going to get rid of, that's something where you need to start preparing for the eventual exit, because it's coming. And more importantly, most of those people are generally over 45. So
He's talking to me.
yeah, when you start,
Yeah.
I mean, and anybody that tells you there's no ageism doesn't work in this business, because there's tons of ageism. As far as, hey, I'm looking for some, this is my favorite one, I'm looking for some young rock star. And as soon as I hear that, I just cringe. Rock star, I just like, you're not going to get somebody like that for $18 an hour. It just doesn't happen. So, like, for example, how did that Bree start with you, and how the hell did you find her to put? Is she deaf, or so I'm thinking you use Braille, so
yes,
it's better.
Yes. Actually, I have my master's in floral design,
And that's an actual degree. Was that from like that mail out school from Hong Kong?
No, it's more of an evaluation process.
Okay.
There are 900 in the U.S., 1,200 in the world, 25 of us in state of Arizona. Success rate for
What do those parties look like?
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. But a friend of ours, she was living in Omaha, Nebraska, and she said, "Hey, Jay," guy's name is, the letter J is his first name. There's a story for later. I'm either moving to Dallas or Phoenix. He goes, "Phoenix is great. If you go to Phoenix, when you get there, look up Tony Medlock." And she walked in and said, "Hey, Jay Schwenke said to pop in and say hi. Here's my portfolio." Talked to her for an hour, had a lot in common. She was just an awesome person. And then I said, "I'm not hiring right now." And lo and behold, a week later, there was a position open, and I called her and said, "When can you start?" And she said, "I'll be there tomorrow."
So that's a referral, obviously,
Right.
which is usually the best way to hire somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because now the other person's on the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of my business too. When you represent somebody and hopefully they won't let you down, but sometimes they do, but that's not your fault, but you'll get blamed anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We always play mine.
How did you find your original job, Larry?
So, when we sold our business in Reno, Nevada, so my parents moved to Scottsdale, and they said, "Hey, you ought to come out here. This place is great." And so I took off out here and had my own pizza place for a couple of years, and then that wasn't exactly how I was doing it in Reno, so just did that for about 2 years, and then sold that, and then somebody told me they were hiring I was trying to get a sales job, get into sales, and went to this company that I work for now. It was called American Linen back then. I went down there and they said, "Oh, we're not hiring," and they said, "No, we're not hiring," and I'm just standing at the door. I go, "I need a job right now," and they said, "No, we're not hiring for anything." So I went to Mission Linen, which I was familiar with, drove over there, walked in. They got me right into an interview with these two guys, and they said, "Can you start at 5 tomorrow morning?" I said, "5 tomorrow morning, sales job? What's happening here? What am I selling at 5 in the morning?" And they said, "Well, it's route sales, but so they put me on a truck. So that I needed a job. So I got I showed up at 4:45 the next morning, and with my uniform, and did that for a couple of years at Mission Linen, and then I was there for 12 years. But I got into sales after a couple of years on the route. That's a hard job, but I learned from the bottom up, and then for about 10 years did sales, and then jumped ship to a bigger company, which is Alsco Uniforms, and then now 16 years with this company.
So it was like a direct, that was like what year was that?
Gosh, that was 98.
Yeah, that was right before you had all these job boards and all the rest of these things.
Oh, for
generally.
sure. Yeah.
And it was more of a personal thing. Now the person stops you at the door unless they're. The only difference in this is industrial people. AI can't clean your toilets. It can't make, there's certain things it can't do, fix your car and stuff like that. So those jobs are still pretty hot right now. But where the soft stuff is the clerical, because, those type of things, I don't need another secretary. Oh, you can't use that. It's admin assistant.
That's right.
And so I can eliminate one. There's also all the outsourcing. So you have more challenges looking for jobs. So it's a lot harder to do that. I can tell you too, some of the, people in my class, my last class was at 9:00 and kids would go, oh man, this is so early. And I'm at 9:00. There's people eating lunch right now, that worked at 5, that's
Right.
their lunch is 9 or 10 o'clock. So there's this thing where people think I'm going to be able to sleep until 9:00 when I work is probably a misnomer. You think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what other interesting things in the flower business? Because I'm fascinated by it because you have to have a certain amount of creativity, which I know you do. I would just be throwing them in that cup and delivering them and saying, give me my money.
Yeah, I can take anybody and make them a good arranger, just, put flowers in a vase. It takes a certain skill to be a designer and to be a good designer. Former occupation, I was a lighting director for rock and roll bands for 10 years. And the day I walked into the flower shop, I had a better understanding of color and balance and asymmetrical balance than the 2 designers that had been there doing that job for 5 years.
So you were like one of the roadies wearing the
No,
concert T-shirts?
No, roadies push boxes.
Okay, so you weren't a box pusher?
No, I sat at the lighting console and pushed.
Looked important.
Push buttons.
You
So.
probably smoked then too, because that
No.
takes more time.
No, but imagine, when you're in a concert and the place goes dark.
Right.
Imagine you put on a headset and you say "kill house lights," and the place goes dark because you told them to turn the lights off. That's something that very few. It's a fantastic feeling, and a feeling very few people in the world will ever get.
What
to
kind
have.
of bands did you do it for?
Oh, all those 80s bands that, had one hit. Till Tuesday, Men Without Hats, Toad the Wet
Till
Sprocket.
Tuesday.
Till Tuesday.
Those are good
Oh,
bands.
I hated Toad and the Wet
Really?
Sprocket.
They're
I don't
still
know.
going. I saw them in concert.
What is he, like 90?
No, they're 50.
I mean, they're singing and there's like dust coming out of their mouth. I mean, come on. These bands, you can't, the thing about bands, and this is totally off topic, I get this way sometimes, you're like, you go to see them and you're like, that doesn't sound like, it ruins it for you now. Like,
Yeah, but
you
they're still
hear
out there. Those 80s bands are still out there.
Oh, they're
though,
making
like
a
you said.
fortune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People pay for
They're
anything.
back.
Yeah, but I was doing this in the 80s and 90s. So, Johnny Winter, Edgar Winter, worked with the Black Crows.
You can't say Black Crows. It's neutral.
Neutral.
Crows.
The neutral
just
crows.
say
Neutral crows?
we're
Okay.
checking. I got to be
The lack of color crows, because technically black is the absence of all color.
very good.
Yeah.
I like that.
I
Well-
got questions for you. Can
Yeah,
can
what do you got?
What Egypt question? Is that all right?
Yeah.
I just wondering how long you've been in Egypt. You seem very well connected, probably a long time. But then also, have you been president or on the board?
Oh no, they won't allow that. I'm like in a glass bottle that says "break in case of emergency."
I've heard that.
I don't play well with others. I'm more my style for those things, because I'm on some other boards, is more dictatorial. I'm on my HOA board only because nobody else will do it.
Oh, that's
But
they
somebody
hate it.
has to enforce the rules, and I just go, hey, these are the rules. If you like them, great. If you don't, then get them changed. But never been in the leadership, but I've always been on the underling, call it the underling committees,
okay. That's what I
this
thought.
thing, doing the interviewing people in the meetings.
Man
I've
on
been
the
in there-
streets.
What'd you say?
Man on the
Yeah,
streets.
the 08 was when I got in there,
Oh,
and then
okay.
that's when I had my staffing company.
Okay.
So what difference now is I just do outsourced recruiting for hourly fees or project fees, not percentage fees. So when I find somebody, you're free to hire them on. with no extra cost. So it's called like an embedded recruiter. So I represent the company through their job boards. I do all their jobs. I do their pre-screen interviews. They don't know I'm outsourced, which a lot of people don't want to talk to outsourced people because they've been screwed over or something. So this makes it easier for the company rather than paying $75,000 a year to hire a recruiter that they're going to fire in 3 months because they didn't hire anybody. This way, you can cover that for half.
So what's a good referral for you? How do we introduce you? How do we get you a job?
Basically, what's great is any small business that that complains about hiring or doesn't like to do it. Okay. It's a time saver because I screen the whole thing. I've got good staff members that are ex-staffing company people, and they're remote, so they can work different hours and stuff. They basically set up the interviews for me. I love doing the interviews. Most people hate interviews. I like them. I mean, I've done 28 interviews in a day, and I can bang them out as fast as I can do it. And I know how to do the interviews now to where I can get out what I want. So at least when I send the person to the company and say, hey, you need to get a hold of this person, usually they should do it fairly quickly because that person, if I like them, that means somebody else likes them. So if somebody's under 50 employees, although I do a company that has 500, it's easier because they don't have a talent acquisition person. Their HR person's buried. And by the way, you don't want to have HR and recruiting in the same department because it's too different. Recruiting is more the sales. HR is the overall stuff. But this way it gives you a lot more freedom to do better interviews. You're not violating anything, but it's not tied up to where you're tied in with always thinking through the HR filter.
Right.
So it does, and it saves a lot of time for people, and it hassle. So you only get to see the people that meet the requirements. You don't see anybody else. So if I sent you somebody, I might went through 50 people, and I can go through people really fast. So that's part of the thing. And we use a lot of AI now too, which saves a lot of time. But it's not smart on employment. So you have to know how to ask it. So if you don't know the business, it's awfully hard to use AI.
Is a restaurant a good lead for you?
Yeah, if they're having a hard time hiring people. I'm doing Michael's Sweets Bakery.
Okay.
Your problem is those are high turnover people all the time. True. Because they're always looking for the next big thing, or they get 50 cents more.
Sure, they're gone. Yeah.
So you got to keep. Yeah. You're going to go through a lot of people.
Right.
But it's better than if he stopped to interview 50, 60 people that we talked to.
How do they do their job then?
He wouldn't have any time to do it.
Right.
So that's where the savings is.
Interesting.
But I thank you guys for asking those questions.
Yeah.
Now, it looks like we're about out of time because I know we've had a good time today. Did you have a good time, Larry?
Yeah.
Did you have a good time?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening, all 5 people, including the 3 people here. We look forward to the next time we have our podcast after the first of the year. This is Mike Hayes from Momentum Hiring Solutions signing off for the Executives Association of Greater Phoenix.